Okay, this next position will be from the flat position. This is when I get my my partner broken down or my opponent down to the mat and I have my leg in. So maybe it might happen from that hook position. Let's say you have, your guillotine, the guy rolls back to his stomach. So this will happen a lot from this position. So, no, actually, Dave, go, stay up. So I'll run one of the moves that I was showing. I get Dave in that hook. Maybe I go for my tilt here, and Dave rolls back to his stomach. So I already got my near fall here. So there's a couple things I can do. Personally, I like to ride a figure 4 here. I'll show it from here. Actually, it's probably the best way. I can ride on both sides, Dave. No, you can stay in that position. It's fine. Let's stay flat. So I like to ride a figure 4 from here, personally. So how I do that is this leg, my left leg, whether it be your left or right, depends on your preference. I can ride both sides. Preferably, I like the right side. So how this figure 4 ride works is I want to make sure I have my left leg or right leg, whatever it may be, like a 4, like the move says. So instead of going butterfly here, like a lot of people like, I personally think the figure 4 ride is tighter. It comes with a little more risk. You kind of got to be balanced. That's why I always like to have my left hand posted on the mat so I can't get sit to my hip. So with this figure 4 ride, I want to make sure my hips are in tight and on top of this back. So when I make that forward, my leg here, I want to make sure my hip pressure is on the bottom of this back. I almost like to compare it like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant when I turn them here. So when my hips are tight in this back here, I want to kind of piss like a dog on a fire hydrant here and lift this leg up. So when I have this figure 4 tight, you can see Dave, the pressure's on his back. As soon as I start putting that pressure in and pissing on that fire hydrant, your opponent's hip is going to go over. So what I want to do from here in this Turk position is start attacking the head. I already got his hips moving, so I want to start attacking the head. So Dave, flatten out here. So most guys will start to, maybe hide their hands. There's a lot of different things guys do here to avoid getting turned, but it just takes a little bit of time and figuring out what to do. So if Dave's going to hide his hands here, hide your hands. So a lot of guys will they call it, they'll shell up and they'll try to hide here and hide their hands to avoid getting turned, which I really like because it's easy for me to get to my crossface here. So you'll see a lot of guys kind of clam up here. So when your partner does that, your opponent does that, I like to go to the crossface here. So this is called the Turk position. So when I get my Turk here, like I said, I want to kind of go crossface or under the chin. Personally, I like to go under the chin here. I feel like it's a little bit tighter. And when I get this half crossface or under the chin, whatever you want to call it, I start using my hips and that crossface at the same time. So it goes hand in hand. It's not one comes before the other. It's at the same time. So as soon as I start riding this crossface, I start running my hips and pissing on that fire hydrant, boom, I'm in my Turk position. So once I get to my Turk position, I want to look for a fall here. Personally, I like to cover over the hips. Some guys like hooking here and trying to put that shoulder to the mat. I think this is effective. It really depends on what kind of wrestler you are. I'll show that one first, actually. So when I go to this Turk position here, back to the flat position, Dave. So I have this Turk here, figure 4 a lot. Like I said, it's important. You want to make sure you have this post here, because if I don't have this post here, I'm kind of being relaxed, Dave can always sit me back to my hip here, now I'm in trouble. So I want to make sure I have that post and I'm ready to go. So I have this figure 4 locked. My partner shells up. He's afraid that I'm going to grab his wrist. So what I'm going to do here is start sliding this arm under the top of his head. And now you see Dave starts posting that hand because the pressure's tight on his back. So all I'm doing here, like I said, like a boa constrictor, I want to be patient. I'm going to run like a dog, piss on that fire hydrant, run him to his back. And the first pin here is I like to almost hook this shoulder here and press my shoulder to the mat. So I'm almost reverse hooking here. I'll show you. Like here, and putting this hook on my chest and trying to drive my partner's shoulder to the mat, looking for my fall here. This is a popular position. I like to do it. I don't think it takes much energy, and it's really efficient because your partner really can't do much here. When Dave starts to turn back, so start turning this way, turning back into me, I can really adjust myself until I get my fall here. So go back down, one time. So on this Turk, my figure 4 here, riding tough on top, getting those hips in the back. My partner shells up. I get my cross face, or whatever you want to call it here, your choke. I'm driving, dropping that shoulder here, looking for the fall. We'll move on to another finish from here. Another one I like is I step over on top here, so I'll get my figure 4 in for the sake of the move. Get Dave on his back. Again, push, push, push. Here. So sometimes the guys will try to start coming into me to my right side, and I'll use that to my advantage. So what I do here, as soon as Dave starts turning, into me, I'll switch my legs. So I'll take my leg out and I'll step over here and go to a double grapevine position. This, majority of the time, is going to be a fall. So if you can time it right, this is going to be your best bet at succeeding to a fall position. So my partner Dave goes down. I start feeling it. Dave's going to come into me. I know that he's going to really fight hard here. I push his head towards my chest, step over this leg here into the double grapevine position. And this, majority of the time, is going to be a fall. I'm completely in control here, and there's really nothing Dave can do. So I'll show you that one more time. It's really important that I shift that head to my chest so I'm able to step over that left leg. So I'll go to my figure 4 position. Remember, hips tight on top. My partner shells up here, like most guys are going to do. I get that cross-face choke position, and I'm running my opponent to his back. He thinks he can turn into me. Shift that head, step this leg over here into my double grapevine position, looking for my fall. I forgot to explain on the other leg. So what my other leg is doing here, this position. What my other leg is doing here, so let me see the best angle that might be able to show this. My other leg here, my right leg, is going to be staying in that same position, but instead of in that figure 4 position, I'm covering his hip and hooking this leg on the inside. So instead in this Turk position, where I have this leg here, all I'm really doing is slipping out and lacing this leg here. So when Dave goes to turn into me, all I'm doing is stepping out and lacing here and stepping over with this left leg. So really not much work with that right leg there, but you want to make sure that you're lacing that leg to have total control over your opponent. So that's the Turk position. We'll move into the bent leg Turk, and that will be the last position from leg riding. Okay, the last move we're going to do here is from that same position, but it's going to be called a bent leg Turk. So Dave is going to go flat here. This happens a lot where I take my opponent down and I can fold his leg here. So from a leg attack, how it works a lot of the times is you get your leg attack here and maybe your opponent's leg is folded here. So I'm going to take advantage of this position. So how I'm going to score here is I want to really emphasize taking Dave's leg to his butt. I want to make sure this leg's trapped because you'll see in a second why it's so important. So actually, Dave, move this way because you're going to want to see what leg comes in on the outside. So when I have this bent leg Turk position, I want to keep this ankle on the inside because if it's on the outside here, a lot of referees are going to stop it because they're worried about the knee here. So I want to make sure this ankle's on the inside here, and then the pain will start. So when I have this ankle to his butt, it's really important that my pressure is forward here. And again, we want to be slow. We want to be like a boa constrictor, slow and lethal. So when I have this position, I want to make sure it's secure. So like I said earlier, when I had that cross body ride, I want to keep my elbow or my wrist on the top of his neck to keep my opponent from moving forward and be able to kick out. I'll show you what it looks like. So if I don't have this here, Dave's going to be able to straighten out his leg here, and I'm going to lose that position. Most of the time when you get the bent leg Turk here, it's going to be either 4-point near fall or fall here. So I want to make sure I don't lose this position. So when I had this ankle to Dave's butt here, I want to make sure I have my wrist on the top of his head so it can't move forward. Now when Dave tries to move forward here, he's not able to, because all the weight is on his neck and his hands. When I don't have it on, Dave's able to kick that out and I'm going to lose my position here. So when I have this wrist on the top of his neck, the next thing I'm going to do, and a lot of people make the mistake of throwing this leg in first, and it's actually incorrect. I want my outside leg here as the one to be on top. So when I start running this bent leg Turk here, I want to start running this knee up, and I slide this leg in. Whether it be a right or left leg, it's always going to be the outside leg that comes on top. You'll see in a moment what I mean. So when I have this ankle on inside, I always make sure this leg is on the inside, because if not, you're going to blow the position dead. I start lifting this ankle, and now I'm going to move my figure 4. You see what I'm talking about? How this outside leg is on top? Because if it's not, I'll show you what will happen. I have my opposite leg on top. It's not as tight, and Dave can slip out. A lot of people make that mistake, and they think they can get away with it. Against a good wrestler or a good opponent, you're not going to be able to get that position. So we want to make sure we're doing everything right here. Like I said, don't rush it. Be slow. Be lethal. So when I have this position and I have my figure 4 lock, I have it tight. It's no different from my figure 4 lock or my cross body ride, my position on my hips. I always want my hips in, and I want them on his lower back here. So how I attack this position is going to be the same way that I did the Turk. So I want to go under his neck here and on the top of his chin like a crossface. So now this is again slow and lethal. I'm running like I'm going to piss on the fire hydrant like a dog here. Lift my hip up, lift my hip up, lift my hip up. And you can see Dave's face, it's painful. So it's no different from that Turk position. How I'm going to finish, I either can come to this lever here and bring Dave's shoulder to the mat, or I can finish in my Turk position, and instead of stepping over here, I already have his leg trapped. I almost hover my chest over his shoulder to try to pin it down. So I go from, sorry Dave, move here. So instead of going to this lever here and punching the shoulder to the mat, I like to move my chest over that shoulder and pin his arm to his own chest and try to look for the fall here. So as we move back again, have this foot trapped off my takedown, trap this foot, bring it to his butt, outside leg, comes under, figure 4. And if you really want to, you can slow this position down to make sure you have that leg high in his crotch. Because what I like to do a lot of the times, I'll slow this position down until I can really get my leg into the right position. So I really like to have my leg tight in his crotch here, because the higher it is on his leg, the harder it's going to be from Dave to slip this out. So I'm really, really careful and slow here when I get this position, because I don't want my opponent getting out from here. So when I have this leg tight to his butt, don't be afraid to kind of work here. You know, you already have this position. They're not going to blow you up, and they're not going to blow a stalemate here. So when I have this leg pinched and tight to his butt, don't be afraid to maybe go a couple times where you can really get your leg. And maybe I drive it once or twice, and then I find that space where I can get my leg tight in the scratch. Because once I have it here, it's going to be very hard for Dave to get out. You see all that space now where my leg's at in between his knee? Because the lower the leg is on the knee, the easier it's going to be for Dave to slip out. So let's say I lock low on his knee, Dave's able to slip that out. I really want to make sure that my leg and my lock is high on his hip and almost towards his crotch here. So like I said, be patient here. You don't have to rush it. Once you have this pin to his butt, Dave's in trouble here. So you really want to work slow. So as soon as I start running this here, I have my leg in high now. Now I can start putting my figure 4 lock in. And then I start working for my Turk. So don't be afraid to take time in this position once you have that leg. We'll do it one more time. So I have my leg cinched here, pinch to Dave's butt, elbow on the top of the head, start running it. I want that leg high in the crotch here. Now it's time for me to turn. So I have that cross face, neck lock, and I'm running Dave to the back, his back. And now either, like I said, you can finish with that punching that elbow or that shoulder to the mat here, looking for your fall. Personally, I like to come across the head and pin his chest to the mat here. So that bent leg Turk position, super popular position. If you can get it right, a very good pinning combination, an easy near fall there. Like I said, you want to be very careful in these positions. You really want to attack the joints, but you want to do it the right way, because if you don't do it the right way, you can give up a lot of good positions by just doing the move wrong. You want to make sure that ankle's on the inside. I can't stress that enough. A lot of people go down. Sorry, Dave. A lot of people try to rush this move, and it's just a small detail. As soon as this ankle goes on the outside and I start running it, the referee is going to stop that. This position is a potential fall in 4 points or 3 points, whether you may be in college or high school. So I really want to be careful and smart in this position. I can't stress enough about this ankle being on the inside. So that's the Turk position. We'll move into a couple more turns here. And let me actually show it one more time from this angle. So, show you again one more time. I want to make sure this ankle's on the inside. Figure 4 as high as I can go. Figure 4 up top as high as I can on his hip or in his crotch. And then I'm moving to my cross face here to his back. Like I said, either you can go with that shoulder punch or my personal favorite, covering over the top of his chest and looking for my fall here. Okay, the last position we'll be going over here is actually if I do get in this position, and Dave's a really good wrestler from the bottom position, he puts me in this position, there's really not much I can do if Dave puts me in this position. So, like I was saying, maybe I do get lazy here, and Dave does get me to my hip. Even with my lace here, Dave can still sit me to this hip, and now I'm in my crab ride position. So, I look at this position as an opportunity. There's a lot of things I can do here. There's a lot of turns I can go through here if I wrestle right in this position. So it might happen, it might not. If it does, you want to be prepared here, especially from riding cross body. So the first thing I want to make sure I do in this crab ride position is my hip position. I want to make sure my hips are on his back, like I said before. But if I get too low here, low in this position, Dave can start working here and start lifting my leg up and start looking for his reversal. So I always want to make sure, like I said, my hips are in that right position, kind of in this area in his back, his upper lower back, so I have some leverage here so I'm able to wrestle from this position. So what I like to do personally, there's a lot of things I can do here. I can attack his wrist. The most popular one here is going to be able to attack this wrist here and get him on his elbow. So to survive in this position, there's a lot of things you can do. My favorite is to attack the elbow and the wrist here and start looking for this hook and maybe pull him back for some near fall. Every opportunity I can score from, I'm going to take advantage of. So even if I'm in this position, some people might look at this as a disadvantage. I look at it as an advantage and an opportunity to turn my opponent. So I'm attacking from every position, even if I do get caught off guard. So what I do a lot from this position is I chop the inside of this wrist. You can see it here from this crab ride. As you can see, I still have my leg laced here. I want to attack this wrist. So what Dave wants to do in this position from the defense, Dave, you can kind of explain it here. So what Dave wants to do is, you can explain. You want to attack my leg. You want to be able to.
A lot of guys will try to get this leg unhooked and slide down, start grabbing the leg and turning in.
So I don't want Dave to do that. So from preventing Dave, let me get my leg laced again. So for preventing Dave to getting my leg out and maybe shelving it on this hip, I want to be active here, but I still kind of want to be slow, but I don't want to get comfortable. So the first thing I always attack in this position is the wrist, because it's the easiest and I'm already under the arms. If I haven't stressed that already, you want to ride under the arms. A lot of guys start coming over the arms, and Dave can do a lot of things, start grabbing my wrist. reverse me from there. So I want to stay behind the arms here. I think it's very important because I can always readjust my hips if my arms are under him. If my arms aren't under him, I'm going to have a hard time pulling myself over the top of him. So if I have my arms under him, I can readjust my hip position and get in better position here. So let me continue. I want to attack this wrist here. So how I do that is I go on the inside. Let's say Dave's posted here and trying to wrestle and reverse me here. As soon as he starts posting that arm, I want to attack and almost inside chop and grab the wrist here. Now he's neutralized, so now I can start working my offense. Like I was saying earlier, there's a couple things you can do here. I like to hook here and start rolling him back towards my left hip. So Dave posts, I'm in my crab ride position. I want to make sure my hips are in the middle of his back. I chop his wrist here, and I start working my hook, and I start rolling him back here. There's my near fall, and this is one of the positions that I was talking about earlier. On this position, I want to elevate this leg here, so Dave can't roll into me. It's very important that you elevate this leg here, because if I don't, Dave can roll into me, and now I'm stuck here, and I'm in a fight. I don't want to be in a fight here. I want to make sure I score from this position. So I have my leg laced here, and then I elevate his leg so he can't roll over top of me. So let me actually show it from this angle. It might be a little bit easier. I get lazy here, or I have a really good wrestler on bottom, pulls me in this crab ride position. I'm attacking this wrist here, pulling him on top of me, elevating this leg. Show it from here. See it again. Place it here. Boom, Dave sits me on the hip, chopping on the inside, pulling him on top. Tilt. Get my near fall here. Just turn the position. There could be a potential reversal into attacking position and some near fall points. So that is the crab ride position. Number one, I'll move into a couple more moves here and look to get some falls here. In this next position in the crab ride, this is more for the guys that aren't really comfortable there, just to get the guy back and flat to the mat. Sometimes in the crab ride, if I know there's short time left in the period and I can't really get a turn I'm worried about in that position, I like to use this a lot to neutralize my opponent. So if Dave is good in this crab ride position, I'm not really comfortable here, and he sits me to that hip, I like to throw this other leg in on top, but there's a couple things I need to do in order to get my other leg in and flatten my opponent out here. So when Dave starts sitting me to this hip, he really wants to block this arm and this leg here, so I can't throw him my other leg. So what I have to do, like I said, I'm riding under the arms. I'm gonna pull my opponent up here as high as I can so I can make space for this other leg here. So when Dave's blocking me here, it's really important that I can find some room here to get my arm under. So immediately as soon as Dave hits me or sits me to that hip here, I want to make sure that my arm's under here, because if it's not, I'm going to have a really hard time doing this move. So immediately as Dave sits me at hip, let's say there's maybe 30 seconds left in the period for those who are wrestling here, I want to make sure I have this hook here. So as soon as I have this hook, I want to pull my opponent up, post my hand here, my right hand here, and throw in my other boot. So how I'm going to do that is I'm running, I'm throwing in this leg, and I'm getting back to my flat position, riding out the rest of the period. This works for a lot of guys who aren't really comfortable in that crab ride position. Maybe they're not very flexible or aren't very familiar with the position. It's a very easy way to get yourself out of it, and I think it's pretty effective way to get up some riding time for those who are in college. So, one more time, Dave. It's a pretty quick position, easy adjustment, not very difficult to do, but also very super effective, and it's a pretty good control position, I think also for those who are doing jiu-jitsu as well, because as soon as I'm stuck in this position, I can put my chokes here, but if I'm not really comfortable there, I can flatten my opponent out by posting my hand here and throwing in this leg. Now I'm in total control here. There's a lot of moves you can look there. So this position is a lot about control. It's not really much technique to do here, other than really good positioning and being patient. So there's a lot of moving parts here you really want to make sure when you're in this crab ride that you're being smart, because there's a lot of things that Dave can do, especially if there's a good wrestler from the bottom position. So when I have my positioning here, like I was saying earlier, I want to stay under these arms. Because if I'm not under these arms, Dave can start doing a lot of things. He can start sitting out here, grabbing my head, and now I'm in trouble. So instead of rushing the position, I want to stay under these hooks here. And when I throw my leg in, it's important, instead of attacking this wrist here, that I post my hand so I can get some leverage here. So the key to throwing this leg in, and the key to this position, it has to do a lot with this arm, and actually both my arms, because I'm pulling up with my left arm and I'm pushing with my right arm to make room for this leg to go in on his left side. So when Dave's in this position, I want to make sure if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right and I'm going to do it fast. So when I'm under the arms here, maybe Dave starts turning into me, turns into me hard, boom, I got my leg in. Now I'm in good position to ride out the period. We'll do it one more time. So you got to be patient here. When you do this move, it's got to be quick. So other than I was saying with those other moves, you want to be slow. This is the only exception where you want to be quick, but you want to be smart, and you want to make sure you have that window to slide that leg in. So Dave sits in my hip in this crab ride, starts looking for his reversal here. I step that leg over. You get to my double boot position. That one is one of my favorite ones, honestly. If I know it's short time in a period and the guy's really tough on bottom, maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve in that crab ride position, I can't get to my turns there, I just got to ride out and finish the period. So that's my double boot finish from there. It's pretty effective if you really do it right. Like I said, you want to be quick with it. You don't want to be slow. So as soon as I start lifting that arm up, like I was showing here, they're kind of in cahoots together, both arms, because I'm pushing with this arm and I'm pulling with this arm. So when I push here, this leg slides in. So it's almost unanimous all together. So Dave starts turning into me, boom, slide my leg in. Now I'm in my control position to ride out the period. Okay, we'll move to our last move of the series, of the sit back series, or claw ride, whatever you want to call it. So what I like to do here to save some time and to actually reposition myself a lot, I call it a key lock, whatever you want to call it. But so what I do here is when Dave sits me to this hip here, I like to grab my own leg here. And what this does, it buys me a lot of time to be able to reposition my hips and get to my attacks here. And I really like this move a lot, especially like I'm saying with it's low risk. And when there's short time left in a period, it's really about riding the guy out and not letting your opponent reverse or escape. So this position has saved me a lot of time in college and in high school. I learned it actually from my dad. He showed me how to do this, and it's really saved me in a lot of close matches and being able to ride the guy out at the end of the period. So it's really simple. It's not really hard to do. For a lot of guys, it's really about positioning and being aware where you are on the mat, especially with leg wrestling. A lot of leg wrestling is positioning. So when Dave sits me to this hip, I can't panic. Because the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to think I'm in a bad position here because Dave has my ankle. Realistically, I'm still in a good position here, and I really like to grab this key lock or ankle lock, whatever you may call it, to reposition myself and to get my hips in position to ride out or turn him here. So what I want to do when I have this key lock position is I want to start pulling it to Dave's chest and start shifting my hips here. So when I have this key lock, I start shifting my hips here to put Dave on his hip. It's kind of a game here. You kind of want to wrestle in here a couple times in practice or in sparring and kind of test this position out, because it's really a game once you get in this sit back crab ride position on who's going to win the position, because it's almost a 50-50 position here. If you're the top guy and you really know what you're doing, you can turn it into your advantage. So when Dave has this ankle here, I really want to kind of start shifting, maybe start chopping his wrists and kind of getting his weight shifted around to get it pinned on this hip, because if I don't and Dave starts lifting this leg, now I'm in trouble here of giving up a reversal, especially with short time left. I don't want that to happen. I want to ride out the end of the period. So when Dave puts me in this position and I grab this key lock. It's like a game. I kind of want to shift my hip, and then maybe Dave starts shifting this, shifting that, and it's really a game here on who can get their hip to the ground, or Dave can either, you know, start lifting my leg. That's what he wants to do, but I want to make sure his weight's on his hand so he can't lift me up and reverse me here. So it's going to be kind of a dogfight in here once Dave gets my leg. So to prevent him from scoring from here, I really want to work and start doing, you know, like I showed you earlier, chopping this wrist, controlling this wrist, stay under the arms here. There's really a lot of stuff you can do here, but this ankle lock allows me to be able to shift my hips freely around in that position. Shift my hips easily around in that position without really exposing myself to a reversal here. I really got to work hard here once Dave has his shelf because I don't want to get reversed. So like I said, I really make it a game here. What I can do, I'll maybe pull him back, shift him, chop him, you know, whatever I have to do to waste time in that position, especially short time left. But if I want to score from there, excuse me, get back in position one time. Finish this out here. If I want to score from this position, on this ankle lock, there's really a lot of things I can do from this ankle lock to prevent Dave from scoring and for me to score here. One of the things I like to do here, especially if it's not, there's really not short time and Dave kind of puts me here early, and I don't really feel like I can stalemate the position out, and I kind of go for this right as soon as I get in the position, is I like to run a power half from here. So when Dave has this shelved here, he gives his whole right side of his body up. So what I do is from this key lock position, my hand is already so close to his head, I can start working for my power half here. My leg's already on his hip. Dave might not know that, but he's in a very dangerous position here of giving up some back points. So instead of staying in this key lock position, I like to start moving this arm up to the top of his head and start running this power half. I'll show you the power half right now, actually without my leg in, so you can see the position. So when I get my power half position from here, I want to make sure my wrist is on the back of his neck. And when I lock, you can either go gable. I like to lock on the wrist here. Some guys like to lock here. Personally, I don't think that the finger grip works here. It's not really tight. So when you go to your power half, you can either go gable or grab on the wrist. Personally, I like the butterfly grab on the wrist, so I'll show that here. And I want to push his head to the mat. And then once I have his head pushed, I pull the lock back to his neck and then run my power half here. As you can see, I'll show actually from here. It's probably the easiest day. So when I get my power half and get that elbow punch in, I pull him back, and then I punch my elbow deep and pull him back and put his shoulder to the mat. So it's no different with that key lock and my leg in. I'm at an advantage here because my leg's already high, it's in, and my arm's already so close to his shoulder, and I'm already under the arms here. So really all I have to do is I push off this foot, this opposite foot here, and pull Dave back to his shoulder and get my near fall here. I just turned the position where I was about to get reversed to some near fall here. So like I said, it's really going to take some practice here to get a feel. You know, it's not going to happen instantly because Dave's really going to fight here. He's not going to give this position up. He might be circling, and then I start feeling it. He's on his hip. I start running my power half here, run this power half. Like you can see, actually, Dave, this might actually be the easiest to see here. As you can see, I already switched. I'm on his shoulder now. And I'm going to run my power half and start pulling him back, run that power half position and get my near fall here. There's really not much Dave can do here. I have my sugar foot as my support here so Dave can't roll into me. Really the only thing Dave can do is give up that position and try to belly out here. It's his best option. So I just turned a position where I was potentially getting reversed into some near fall. And it's a little trick I like to do a lot in that position in practice. And once you start doing it in practice, you might get it in matches, you might catch the guy off guard. I've done it a couple times in matches. Really, it depends on the feel the guy's going to give you. Sometimes guys, when they start feeling that power half, bail and let go. So once I get that power half, it's kind of hard to do. But if you really time it right, it's going to look something like this. Dave starts circling. I get my power half and I pull him back. And be careful. In that position, it might seem like the right thing to do to figure four lock. in any level of wrestling, figure fouring the body is illegal. So for jiu-jitsu guys, you can figure four the body, but if you're a collegiate wrestler, a high school wrestler, you want to be careful there. You don't want to give up that position, and it's the point. So you don't want to figure four the body there. It might seem like the right thing to do because it seems comfortable, but as soon as I figure four that body, I just lost my near fall and I just lost my position. So when I'm here, what I want to do, like we're playing around, Dave's wrestling, I feel that position. There's my power half, hold Dave back towards the shoulder and towards his head, and get my near fall. And that is the conclusion of the crab ride series. That's it. Nice job, Dave.
Good job.
Come to the end of the video. I appreciate you guys watching this, and some of the things we went over today was the claw ride and getting my leg in position, our attacks from getting our legs in, and then some of the control positions from that crab ride. And I really want to thank my buddy here, Dave Habit, for helping me out here. Dave, if you want to give these guys any words of wisdom or where to follow you on social media.
You can follow me on Instagram at Bad Habit, last name spelled Habat, and on Facebook, it's my name, Dave Habit. Thank you.
Yeah, so for me, you can follow me on Instagram at Malik the Messiah. I also just started a Rockfin account. It's called Amin Media Co. I'm going to be posting some of these videos there. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, I know it might seem difficult, especially with this leg riding. There's a lot of tweaks and small positions that you really need to pay attention to. I'm available all the time. I'll try to do my best to answer you guys, but I really appreciate Wrestling Fanatics for having me out here and hopefully doing some more videos of technique in the future. I have some more stuff I'd like to show you guys, so thank you.